How much do you know about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr? I thought it would be fun to put together a quiz about both men and some events that are important in American history. So are you ready? Let's get started. For each question, you can answer Hamilton, Burr, both, or neither. Question 1. Who was born in New York? Neither. Hamilton was born on the Caribbean island of Nevis, and Burr was born in Princeton, New Jersey. Question 2. Which man was an orphan? Both. Burr's parents died when he was 2, within a year of each other, of illness, and Hamilton's mother, his only parent, died when he was 11. Now this next question sounds hard, but I bet you can figure it out. Whose grandfather was one of the most respected and influential intellectuals of his time? That was Aaron Burr. And for some extra credit, do you know whose Burr's grandfather was? Who that famous man was? It was Jonathan Edwards. How are you doing so far? Ready for the next one? Who attended Princeton College, or as it was called then, the College of New Jersey? That was Burr. And for some extra credit, do you know who the founder of Princeton was? Why, that was Burr's father, the Reverend Aaron Burr, Sr. Now here's one I bet you think is really easy. Who attended King's College in New York City? That was Mr. Hamilton. And for extra credit, what is that college called today? Why, it's Columbia College of Columbia University. Who wrote a series of essays in a New York paper that encouraged the people of America to separate from England? Well, of course, that was Alexander Hamilton. Who passed his college entrance exam when he was only 11 years old? That was young Aaron Burr. And for extra credit, which 3 languages were required? Those were Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. Can you imagine doing all of that when you were only 11 years old? And incredibly, Princeton denied him entry as they said he was too young and made him wait until he was 13 years old. Now let's try some questions about their lives during the Revolutionary War. Which, as a 19-year-old soldier, was splattered with the blood of a general when that general was hit by artillery fire in 1775? That was young Captain Aaron Burr. And for extra credit, who was the general? That was Richard Montgomery, and this painting by Alonzo Chappell is a very famous painting called The Death of Montgomery. Which young officer was well liked by General Washington and became a key member of his staff? That was young Alexander Hamilton. Who was promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel when he was 21 and placed in command of a regiment of 300 men? That was Colonel Aaron Burr. Okay, we're halfway there. 10 questions done and 10 to go. How are you doing so far? Are you learning a lot of really neat new things about our 2 gentlemen? Well, let's continue. Which officer was entrusted with some of the most confidential communications of the Continental Army? That was Alexander Hamilton in his role on George Washington's staff. Who met his future wife at a social event in New Jersey? That was both. And for extra credit, what were those ladies' names? Elizabeth Schuyler and Theodosia Prevost. Who was present when the treason of General Benedict Arnold was revealed? Colonel Alexander Hamilton. Now, let's try some questions about Hamilton and Burr and their lives after the American Revolution. Which of our gentlemen had 8 children? Well, that was Mr. Hamilton with his wife, Elizabeth Schuyler Hamilton. And for extra credit, do you know how many children Mrs. Hamilton's mother, Mrs. Schuyler, had? 16, and 8 of those lived full adult lives. Who married a woman 10 years older who was a widow with 5 children? That was Mr. Burr when he married Theodosia Bartow Prévost, and he raised all 5 of her children as if they were his own. Which gentleman's profession was a lawyer, but he also started a bank and led a political party? Both Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Burr. And for extra credit, what were their party affiliations? Mr. Burr was a Democratic Republican, and Mr. Hamilton, you know this one, was a Federalist. Speaking of those banks, whose bank is the oldest bank still operating today? Why, that's Mr. Hamilton's. And for extra credit, what is the name of that bank? It's the Bank of New York, founded 1784. Who was an author of the Federalist Papers? That was Mr. Hamilton. And for extra credit, who were the other authors? James Madison and John Jay. Who said this about his wife? She is my intellectual equal and my moral superior, the greatest woman and finest lady I have ever known. Why, that was Mr. Burr speaking about his wife, Theodosia Prévost Burr. Which gentleman educated his daughter in the same manner as a son, providing the best education available at that time in America, including a college education? That was Mr. Burr, and his daughter was Theodosia Burr Alston. Now, Miss Burr could not attend college. Her father, then Senator Burr, hired the men at Princeton to come to New York and tutor her so that she would still have an education comparable to some of the finest young men in New York. Well, how did you do? Did you get them all right? And what did you think about those extra credit questions? Some of those were a little tough, weren't they? Let me know in the comments how you did, and if you'd like to do more of these, I'll be happy to make some more about other people and other events. Also, be sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel for more of these, and share it with whoever you think will have a good time taking the quiz. Until next time, I'm Mrs. Q.